and watchful. Watch this.
The most urgent invention in the world right now is a vaccine that prevents you from getting COVID-19. It's going to have to go to 7 billion people.
Stay at home during this pandemic.
A global vaccination program without a vaccine that hasn't been fully developed yet.
We already know that the virus is not as lethal as they said it was.
The FDA is fast-tracking a possible coronavirus vaccine.
One final way that's promising is the RNA vaccine.
Messenger RNA.
Messenger RNA.
When people received their first COVID-19 vaccine, it was the first time their body received lipid nanoparticles.
People historically have this confidence in the concept of, oh, it's just a vaccine.
When I said that they could change the human DNA, they rushed to the press to deny it. But there's ample evidence now.
These vaccines are just, products from hell.
These injections do violate the Biological Weapons Convention.
They're not satisfied with all the toys, so now they want humans to be the ideal toy.
For many decades, under the guise of advancement, science, or ideology, humanity has endeavored to tamper with the fundamental design of human nature. From research labs to authoritarian regimes, through genetic alteration and psychological manipulation. Today, a sustained and determined drive has emerged to redefine, alter, or even supplant what God created, the human genome. And the COVID-19 pandemic became another opportunity for those pursuing this objective, particularly through the accelerated development and widespread rollout of mRNA vaccine technology. In the early stages of the pandemic, Chinese scientists released the genetic code of the coronavirus, sparking a global race to develop a vaccine.
Vaccine platforms are using what's called the spike protein of the coronavirus.
The worst mistake of all would be to take messenger RNA and then have a code for a lethal protein that was engineered in a Chinese biosecurity lab. That was a disaster.
The mRNA technology is exceptionally complicated and unlike anything we have seen with standard vaccines. The mRNA vaccine dose is filled with tiny bubbles of fat called lipid nanoparticles. These fat bubbles protect the modified mRNA from degrading and help it enter cells. Once inside, the RNA instructs the cells to produce a genetically engineered version of the spike protein.
The lipid nanoparticles, when they attach to cells, then the lipid nanoparticles dump off their payload, messenger RNA. The messenger RNA then is taken into the cytoplasm of the cell. It's read by ribosomes over and over and over again.
Spike itself is a toxin, and I was highly criticized for saying so. Some of the fact checkers who had no formal biology training back then would insist that there had been modifications to the spike protein designed to reduce its toxicity. That was absolutely false narrative. The two proline modifications that are made in the spike sequence are there to increase its immunogenicity. And the choice of this protein reflects the mad rush to get something out the door.
And with this, it is possible to edit the DNA information. They rushed to the press to deny it.
The vaccine has nothing at all to do with modifying your DNA.
They boasted about it. What they are denying now. This article was posted in 2018. Look at it. June 28, 2018. The NIAID Vaccine Research Center scientists have initiated phase 1, phase half, 1/2, studies of a universal flu vaccine strategy that includes an investigational DNA-based vaccine called a DNA prime. Are you following this? It refers to what the experts are touting as the next generation of immunizations. Instead of injecting a piece of a virus into a person in order to stimulate the immune system, synthesized genes will be shot into the body. This isn't traditional vaccine or vaccination anymore. It's gene therapy.
In 2023, independent studies and reports led by researchers such as Kevin McKernan, David Spiker, and Philip Buchholz found the presence of DNA in the lipid nanoparticles of Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna COVID-19 mRNA vaccines.
What I want to talk to you today is about the DNA contamination that our team at Medicinal Genomics discovered in the mRNA vaccines. We're specifically speaking about Pfizer and Moderna in this case. This work has been replicated by many labs around the world, and now the FDA, the EMA, and even Health Canada have admitted to this. The regulatory agents have admitted that Pfizer also omitted the SV40 sequences that are in their vaccine. They've deemed this contamination to be of little consequence, claiming the DNA is of too little concentration to matter or to be containing DNA of no functional consequence. These statements are false and are not supported by any independent testing by these regulators. After the regulators have admitted to being deceived, they ask the opinion of the party that deceived them, how bad was the deception? They shockingly believe the answer they were given, which is that these sequences have no relevance to plasmid manufacturing. As someone who has worked on the Human Genome Project manufacturing millions of plasmids, I can assure you that this is an overt lie. DNA contamination can lead to insertional mutagenesis. This is actually declared in Moderna's own patents regarding mRNA vaccines. This is US patent 10,898,574.
David Spiker, a distinguished molecular virologist, studied 38 vials, 32 from Canada, 3 from the USA, and 3 from Australia. He also found DNA contamination in every one of these vials.
The vials of Pfizer vaccine that were given out here in Columbia, one of my colleagues was in charge of that vaccination program in the College of Pharmacy, and for reasons that I still don't understand, he kept every single vial. So he had a whole freezer full of the empty vials. Well, the empty vials have a little tiny bit in the bottom of them. He gave them all to me, and I looked at them. We had 2 batches that were given out here in Columbia, and I checked these 2 batches, and I checked them by sequencing. And I sequenced all the DNA that was in the vaccine, and I can see what's in there. And it's surprising that there's any DNA in there. This DNA can and likely will integrate into the genomic DNA of cells that got transfected with the vaccine mix. This is just the way it works. We do this in the lab all the time. We take pieces of DNA, we mix them up with a lipid complex like the Pfizer vaccine is in. We pour it onto cells, and a lot of it gets into the cells, and a lot of it gets into the DNA of those cells, and it becomes a permanent fixture of the cell. It's not just a temporary thing. It is in that cell and all of its progeny from now on forevermore. Amen.
Once you take that vaccine, you cannot detox. You cannot get it out of your body. Never.
Tento genetický kód pre syntézu S-proteínu, táto informácia uložená v tejto DNA, je v porovnaní s mRNA stabilná, vie sa integrovať do ľudskej jadrovej DNA a následne sa takýto ľudský organizmus stáva, nebojím sa povedať oficiálne, geneticky modifikovaným organizmom.
Genetically modified organism is any plant, animal, or microorganism whose genetic material, DNA, has been altered using laboratory techniques.
There is a technology known as CRISPR. And CRISPR is clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats. That is CRISPR. CRISPR. It's a tool that can edit the human genome and fast-track DNA modification processes.
CRISPR uses 2 main components. The first are short snippets of repetitive DNA sequences called clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, or simply CRISPRs. The second are Cas, or CRISPR-associated proteins, which chop up DNA like molecular scissors. Here's how it works in the lab. Scientists design a guide RNA to match the gene they want to edit and attach it to Cas9. Like the viral RNA in the CRISPR immune system, the guide RNA directs Cas9 to the target gene, and the protein's molecular scissors snip the DNA. This is the key to CRISPR's power. Just by injecting Cas9 bound to a short piece of custom guide RNA, scientists can edit practically any gene in the genome.
The CRISPR technology is like software for the genome. We can program it easily using these little bits of RNA.
I mean, this is a tool that fundamentally allows us to change our relationship with nature. It actually allows us to change human evolution if we want to, right? It's that profound.
And this is why I told you about 5G. Because that is very important. With that, they can connect to the nanochip which this vaccine introduces into your body. And somebody from somewhere can alter. So if anybody tells you DNA cannot be edited, ask them, do you know anything called CRISPR? It changes you from being a normal human being. So you're no longer that individual with that identity that you were born to be. You become their product.
In 2013, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling that the human DNA, the human genome, cannot be patented because it is a product of nature. But if it is genetically altered, it is patented. When you modify the genome with an adenovirus vaccine, that vaccinated person is a transgenic person, a transhuman. According to what is legally established in international law, this person shall be the property of the owner of the patent.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. Revelation 13, verse 8.
So when you're born into this world, you have an identity. That identity is in your DNA. When that identity is changed, it's a new identity. He is not recognized. So his name is not in the book of life. He's another person.
There's a patent and research done at MIT to create a dye delivered along with a vaccine. The patent for this dye is referred to as luciferase, and the idea is that under a specific light, it would allow you to see who has been vaccinated and who hasn't.
The deal is to store your biometric information, because this vaccine will have nanoparticles, nanocrystalline particles that are actually little robots, and they like little antennas, and they will have the ability to take your biometric data, not only your vaccine record, but your breathing, your heart rate, your activities, sexual activities, drugs that you're taking, where you travel, all of that, and then take that data and store it in the cloud.
It'll make your body become an antenna. You just become a device that they can program from anywhere. And they're going to make you do whatever they want you to do.
This is the agenda that has been heavily promoted by the World Economic Forum.
We're going to start the When Humans Become Cyborg session. You know, I always want to be a cyborg. I'm waiting for the day to become one, but let's see. Like today, we like to really talk about the recent developments of brain-computer interface and how that's really blurring the line between man and machine. And how that's really blurring the line between man and machine.
They want to turn us into transhumans. This time around, they don't want to. They just want to do it in the lab to produce these hybrids by getting us to be transhumans. And when we become transhumans, then God cannot save us anymore. They're going to crash banks, crash the economy, cause famine to get the digital ID.
Maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian machines, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
As explained by the man of God, Pastor Chris, this is not yet the mark of the beast, but rather the platform for it.
So if anyone tells you that is not, they're lying to you.
Despite these insights, the deep state and major pharmaceutical companies continue to intensify their push for vaccines.
I think we will see a lot of advancements with mRNA. And the good thing, after the success of COVID, it is that right now you have a substantial wave of companies, biotechs and big pharmas that are working on mRNA. A lot. And they are working on multiple applications of mRNA. So I think the first things that I'm hopeful to see it is other vaccines other than COVID. A flu vaccine with mRNA, a single vaccine with mRNA.
In the spirit, we are destroying them. I'm telling you. That's they know it. They're panicking in the realm of the spirit, because all this prayer we've been doing in the last few months, we are destroying them. Oh my goodness. We have pushed the forces of darkness backward. We have suspended their agenda, and they're only groping in the dark. Because we have in the spirit issued a moratorium. Yes, sir. An injunction restraining mandatory vaccines until we are done and we are gone out of here. So in the spirit, we've done that.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6, verse 12.
I think I should show you another video. It's a small one, just a few seconds. It's probably less than a minute or so. And it's just a report that lets you know what we told you before. When people began to die around the world, when they were really dying, because when they first said that a lot of people were dying, they were lying to us, because the deaths were just not there. The records didn't show that there was an increase of deaths. But then after a while, people began to die. And I said, it is the pandemic of the vaccinated. They tried to tell us it was the unvaccinated that were dying, but they were lying. Watch this.
98% of the excess deaths in these regions were not from COVID, which means they weren't from the lockdowns either. They must be from one thing and one thing only, the mRNA gene transfer injections. And so this basically proves that the excess deaths that we're seeing all across the globe are due to the injection. But what they did was he found 4 Australian regions in was almost no COVID activity and very brief lockdowns in 2021. But all of them had 90% mRNA injection uptake. And so it served as a natural experiment because you could isolate the effects of the shots without COVID or lockdowns. And you can't really get a stronger ecological study than this one.
Praise God. Interesting. So now they have all the evidence, but of course, don't expect that just because you have evidence that Satan has been a liar, he will stop lying, or he would say, please forgive me. No, he doesn't do that. His agents don't either. So they're doubling down on it and insisting people get vaccinated.